How does stress affect the immune system? Oh my gosh, in more ways than most people are actually aware of. If you've ever found yourself wondering how stress might be affecting your immune system, then you are in the right place because I am here to answer that question in today's video. Let's jump on in. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly, doctor of cause, chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine, and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, we're going to uncover two main ways that stress is negatively affecting the immune system and essentially rendering it dysfunctional. Next, I'll be discussing the most effective way to stop stress in its tracks and boost your immune system at the same time. And finally, I'll be sharing one of the best ways to supercharge your immune system that won't require you to pop more pills, even the good ones. Let's dive right on in. First, we're going to talk about the two main ways that stress negatively impacts the immune system. The first one is that stress actually creates what's known as chronic inflammation. Now, part of this happens because when the body gets stressed, we kick into this flight or fight mode. And during this time frame, our body is preparing us to either fight some offense or run away from it. Like truly, everything is changing. Where your blood flow is, what your heart rate's like, so many different functions to help you manage and survive that stressful event. During this time, our body is producing a lot of the stress hormone known as cortisol. Now, this is all fine and dandy as long as it's temporary. Like this legitimately is a survival mechanism that was built into us that we have not gotten rid of. And the challenge that we have right now in today's times is that we are always being bombarded with stress. Significant to small, it doesn't matter. Every time we're dealing with stress in our world, it is kicking us into this fight or fight mode. Problem with that, as I was mentioning, is it increases the level of our cortisol in our system. Part of why that happens is because cortisol is being released to reduce the inflammation that's coming as a result of being in these chronic levels of stress. But as our body is trying to manage this inflammation that's coming from living in a survival mechanism, it's almost like what it uses to make immune cells and that gets put on hold. Our assets are being put at regulating inflammation. And over a long period of time, eventually what ends up happening is that the immune cells that are trying to help with this become immune to cortisol. And now the immune system doesn't function the way that it should at all. See, chronic stress causes the cortisol to continue to elevate, to try to regulate that inflammation. But it becomes much less effective at reducing the inflammation. Ultimately, then, immune cells become insensitive to the cortisol, which allows the immune system to be dysregulated and allow inflammation to just continue to skyrocket. The other way that stress negatively affects your immune system is it actually suppresses the immune system. Going back to that flight or fight response, again, we have to produce cortisol in order to handle the threat. But by doing so, the same proteins that we use to make immune cells are being reprioritized to make cortisol. So now we don't even have production, the normal production of immune cells in our system, which renders the immune system, kind of spotty and not as effective at being able to respond when needs to be because it doesn't have its numbers. As far as both of these go, inflammation is like the root cause of all disease and illness. So stress increasing inflammation because the body isn't being able to regulate it anymore because the cortisol isn't being as effective anymore is really opening up the door for a multitude of different problems, not just immune system related. And then the suppression of the immune system on top of that, because we're not able to produce the amount of immune cells that we need in order to respond appropriately if need be, also is a double-edged sword for us. Now I'm curious, did you have any idea that this is what stress was doing to your immune system? Let me know in the comments down below. The most effective way to stop stress in its tracks is exercise. Now listen, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to spend hours doing this. In fact, there was a study at UCLA that showed that just a 10-minute walk was enough to shift what was happening in the body. See, part of what happens is when we exercise or when we're active, or even if we're laughing, our body will end up releasing these pain-killing hormones, our feel-good hormones known as endorphins. Well, when endorphins are in your system, they don't allow this abundance of cortisol to continue to happen. So here's the thing. We need cortisol when we're dealing with stress, but when we're not dealing with stress, we need cortisol to go back to its normal ranges. And part of the issue that people have is that mechanism is not happening the way that it should be. Okay. So when endorphins are in your system, it's almost like they're a good bully where they'll go into the cell and they don't allow cortisol to then have its act on the cell. They don't allow the cell to use the cortisol. So naturally, our cortisol levels start to decrease because the body's not taking it in and processing it or being affected by it. So the best way to stop stress in its tracks is get endorphins flowing. The easiest way to do that is activity. You can also get it through laughter for sure. Okay, so watch a funny movie if the weather's not great. But ideally, you want to get some sort of movement. You have to do a little bit of work for this one. But like I said, the study with UCLA showed if you went for a 10-minute walk, you produced enough endorphins to last you for at least 2 hours. And that totally changed not only what was happening from a biochemical standpoint with hormone balance, what have you, but also it helped with outlook on life and mood stabilization and just overall sense of well-being. From a cardiovascular standpoint, cardiovascular or the American Heart Association says they want 30 to 45 minutes of cardiovascular exercise like almost every day. Here's the cool thing. Your body could care less if it happens all at the same time. So if it works for you to do like a 10-minute walk in the morning and maybe another 10-minute walk at lunch and a 10-minute walk in the evening, from a heart standpoint, you're doing a great job. From a stress regulating standpoint, you're doing dynamite, because if you can get effects for at least 2 hours every single time you go for a 10-minute walk, that's a no-brainer. This is the best way to stop stress in its track is through exercise. Special bonus of that is that when you exercise, your brain is actually benefiting the best that it possibly could be, which is intimately connected with your gut health, and that's where your immune system lives. So get outside, get exercising. Even if you don't go outside and you like to dance to music or, chase your dogs or your kids or whatever the case may be, again, just move and do at least 10 minutes at a time. That would be so, so helpful. Now, before I get into the most effective way to supercharge your immune system without popping more pills, even the good ones, I just want to remind you to click that subscribe button down below and turn the notifications on. I am publishing videos every Monday through Friday, all about immune health, gut health, brain health, you name it, everything to help you achieve what I like to call total body mastery. So again, just click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you don't miss another show. I love it. Thank you. All right. The best way to supercharge your immune system has everything to do with what you're eating. Now, why is that? The immune system very much so lives within your gut. Okay. So how you're eating or what you're choosing to eat is either building your immune system up with every bite or maybe destroying it with every single bite. The most important detail for you to know here is what breaks down gut health also breaks down immune system health. The biggest thing, food, if you want to call it that, it's actually a drug. The biggest drug that you need to avoid, the biggest food you need to avoid is sugar. Sugar is the best way to cause inflammation in the body, which inflammation is the root cause of all disease and illness. Sugar is very irritating to the lining of the gut. And if you irritate the lining of the gut, you're going to put more stress on the immune system and actually allow things to pass through into the bloodstream where the immune system lives that shouldn't be there. And you're going to create all kinds of different immune reactions in your body, in the gut, or widespread. It doesn't matter. Also, sugar. You have an enormous amount of bacteria, predominantly, that live inside of your gut. It's called your microbiome. It's this ecosystem that lives inside of your gut, and it very much so heavily influences your immune system and how it works. If you have a diet that is loaded with sugar, then what you're doing is you're feeding the bad bacteria that are there, and you're killing off the good guys. Now you're getting an imbalance in this microbiome, which sets the stage for different types of illness and microbes into your system that now your immune system also has to deal with. So by far, like the number one thing that you should be severely reducing, or just cut it out completely if you can, is sugar. It is awful. Okay. The next thing that you want to look at is eating foods that are rich in all of our vegetables. Those are all those phytonutrient stores that we need in order for everything to function. Okay. And having a variety of them is like extremely important. You know, when they say, the old Skittles commercial, taste the rainbow. We don't want you to taste the rainbow. We want you to eat the rainbow, but in the form of vegetables, not candy, right? Sparingly on fruit. And then make sure you're getting those in every single meal. I know, who wants vegetables for breakfast? My son asked me the same thing, but come on, you can sneak spinach and that into different types of eggs, like a frittata or a scramble or a casserole. Or you can just have dinner for breakfast. I mean, we do breakfast for dinner. Why not flip everything around? So that is incredibly important. Eating really good fats is helpful for healing the gut and keeping the integrity the way that it should, which again, ultimately turns around and boosts the immune system. And then making sure you're getting in clean proteins in a moderate amount is critically important as well. Proteins are what the immune cells are made out of. So we have to have basically their building blocks. Okay. If you guys have no idea what this looks like, don't stress about this whatsoever. Just look down in the description below. Okay. Click on it. It'll open up. There is a link in there for immune recipes. These are immune boosting recipes that are super easy to follow. There's not many ingredients. If you want to know what it looks like to eat for boosting immune health, that is what you want to grab. You'll get immediate access to, I don't even remember how many recipes. There's a number of them. I think there's 20 recipes, and you'll be well on your way for boosting your immune health with every single bite that you take. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll see you on the next video, and God bless.